Welcome, everybody. This is episode number 4. We have Torrian with us today. He is the lead pastor of Harvest International Church in Brea, California. Yes. Torrian has built his own companies in the past. He's done a bunch of pastoral stuff. It's funny how we've had all these different people that are involved in the church world and motivational world just happen to show up. I was thinking about texting a bunch of people yesterday to try to play with all this and try to get this off the ground and just say we're in, and this is just who lined up. And Torrian and I have hit it off as friends.
Yes.
He's a guy I have deep respect for. He's a man of character, a man of passion. He's one of the best speakers I've ever heard. We met at a motivational conference or something, a dinner that we both spoke at in the middle of, I don't even know where that
Riverside
was.
or
Beautiful castle or something. We were at this house that was built in the early 1900s in Los Angeles, way out west somewhere. Gorgeous property. We both spoke, and this guy is he's an amazing speaker. And the thing I love about Torrian, he's got so much wisdom. And he really speaks out of his heart. And he's actually, it's just so much truth, and he's lived this stuff. He actually speaks from experience. He's actually lived this stuff, and he actually cares about people. And that's what I love about hanging out with Torrian. And he's a great communicator that people are just captivated watching. And I feel the universe or God or whatever you want to call it, and you come from different angles. We all come from different angles of things. But Torrian just invited me to show up randomly at church after my dad passed away. And this is the connectivity of it all, how kind of random things happen. I was raised as a little kid in the church, kind of showing up as a young family type thing. We didn't go for a long time, and I was super involved in church world around 18 to 24, and I really am not involved since. I'm in the back end, and I love helping leaders and church leaders or any entrepreneurs. I mean, we even are supportive of even there's a Muslim church right next to us, and we're involved with us, and our buildings next to each other. I like being the guy that supports the leaders in the background in a lot of ways in the church world, and I have a lot of friends that are super involved, but I show up to Torrian's church after, and I'm sure, man, I probably need to go. My dad passed away. Maybe it's time to go to church. I was sure, man, I'm in. The craziest thing was I have traveled a lot and done a lot of things. Had a Christian t-shirt company that sold products to churches and youth organizations all over the country. But there was a song that you played that day I haven't heard in 30 years. So.
Yes. So, and the backstory with that, well, number one, thank you for having me.
Crazy.
It's the great things that you said about me is really, I reciprocate those things about you. Meeting you was probably one of the highlights of my life. It's just been such an amazing journey with you over these past 3 years. It's been great. No, seriously, it's been really amazing. But the backstory with that is that, number one, I did not know that your dad passed away at all. I just had this inkling. I was like, you know what? Let me just invite Troy, to church one day. And so we were just starting out. We were on Saturday night, and so we didn't have a lot of people. So it was like, hey, anybody can come, and everybody should come. But we just sent out that email or sent out that text message. But the crazy thing about it is my wife is the worship leader. And so she had already had a set that she was going to sing. And I said, you know what? We haven't sung that song or this song in a long time. And she grew up on that song.
I hadn't heard that song in 30 years.
Right. And so
that you played that night.
Yes. And that night. And so she changed everything around, and Troy came, and it was remarkable. I thought that it was remarkable. Even the story that you shared with me.
It was just tears pouring after that. It was all right, Dad. It was amazing.
Yeah. And I was sitting up there, and I was teaching, and I just saw Troy just back there just red, and I was just like, is he mad at me? I don't know what's going on. Is he having a good time? Is this boring to him? Am I just gonna he's gonna
so
be like, this sucked, or whatever.
It was a sign that my dad was in a better place. Is what I got from it. 100%. It was okay.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah. And the reality is that, I'm glad that we talked about that, because you never know what your actions or what that subtle obedience that you have to that subtle voice that's on the inside. You never know what the ripple effect is going to be.
You got to listen to the voice.
You got to listen to
wherever that voice comes from.
You got to listen to the voice,
because people perceive that voice comes from.
Yeah.
We're not preaching Christianity or promoting any one thing in these podcasts. We're just sharing the experience of each individual and their true life experience here. So keep going.
Absolutely. Right? And it's that voice that truly has guided me all of my life. You know, I grew up in Houston, Texas. I'm not originally from California. July 11th, 2011 was our Caliversary. So we're about to have our 7th Caliversary here in the next couple of weeks, or a couple of days actually. And but that's what got me here to California. You know, many times we can have our own plans and our own ways that we want to do stuff, and man, we think that it's the best thing for us to do, but then we hear that voice that says, "No, I want you to do something different." Or we get inspiration to go a different direction, and that new direction, that voice leads us into a new destination where there's new relationships, there's new opportunities, there's just new experiences all around, you know. And so I call it just following the voice of purpose. You got to follow purpose. You know, purpose is not. I say this all the time, is that, and we were just talking about this. I say this all the time. I actually really do say this all the time. Is that your purpose is why you exist, but your destiny is where you exist. You know, your purpose is why you were created, why you were put on this earth. There's a reason why you're alive right now in this dispensation, in this time. You know, that there's a reason. Even
there's got to be a reason.
There's no accident. There is no accidents at all. Originally grew up in Houston, Texas. My mom, she don't mind me saying this. She always laughs with me when I say this. But I grew up. My dad wasn't in my life. She went to the prom, and 9 months later, here I was, this, you know, deep dark chocolate drop that you see in front of you right now. You know, and so, you know, for growing up, because he wasn't in my life, in and out of my life, you know, I would go to school, and, you know, kids, they were like, "Oh, I'm going out with my dad," and "Where's your dad?" "Oh, well, you know, I don't know." Or, you know, by that time, my mom married a great man, my stepdad, but still, I needed that father in my life. I needed that biological father in my life. So over my life, I actually believed the lie that I was just a product of prom passion. That, man, I don't have any purpose outside of just, you know, they didn't really want me here. Maybe I should just explore all these different things. And this is the thing that I found out, is that when you don't know your purpose in life, your life becomes a huge experiment. When you don't know what you're supposed to do, if you don't know where you're supposed to be, you start grabbing at sticks. You start going here, you start going there, you're trying to figure your life out. But then when I found out that I was purposefully designed, and I have a purpose, that there's a need in the earth that made my existence necessary, then life began to start.
So were there specific experiences, we were talking about this a few podcasts ago, that the experiences that occur when you're young help drive some of these future destinies, like this future deep purpose, this lane that you're created to go in. Like I was sharing how like some of my purposes really helping other entrepreneurs learn how to live this whole life. Watching my dad, watching some of his friends, like the people that committed suicide when I was young, like all these experiences that I was surrounded with, and like then health issues my dad had, health issues I had. It's kind of created this lane of like this, how do you balance this whole thing in life? So what were those experiences for you that really sets you on this course of like, here's what I'm going to do with my life?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because my mom had me when she was just a teenager, right, you know, high school, she still lived with my grandmother. And so I was born in a family in which my mom lived with my grandmother until she got married. And so I grew up with my grandmother. I loved my grandmother, and I would go to church with her all the time. Even after my mom got married and we moved away and moved out of the house, I would be faithfully at her house every single weekend, going to church and finding out more things about God, finding more things about community and all of those different things. And I remember this one particular time that my grandmother, she began to really speak into the future me. And I don't remember what time it was. I think it had to be between age 6 and 7. I remember specifically her just speaking into my life and say, "You're going to do great things one day. You're going to do amazing things. I don't want you to be like everybody else. You chart your own course. You follow your own drumbeat. You know God has called you to do some great things. Just do it." And I remember just hearing those things, you know, over and over and over again. So when it was time to try out for the choir, you know, I tried out for the choir, and, you know, I didn't know if I was going to make it. My grandmother's like, "You're going to make it," and I made the choir. But then in about 4th grade, she passed away. And that was probably one of the defining moments in my life, because my grandmother was everything to me. She spoke life into me. She spoke that I was going to be a leader. She spoke that I was going to do great things, and I believed her, because you believe your grandmother, right?
Power
Otherwise,
of words.
the power of words, and those
words in someone's life.
Yeah, and she those words impacted my life, and then she exposed me to, the opportunity to step out and be great. Don't settle for anything. Don't settle for just being average. You are great. Find out what that greatness is. Serve it to the world, And so she passed away when I was about in fourth grade, and I remember I was talking to one of the guys that I mentored just about this the other day, that as I was riding down the road in the back seat, after she passed away, it was about months upon months. That's when I really felt like God began to speak to me about purpose and about connectivity and about finding the source of your strength. I'm talking about, this is fourth grade. I mean, I'm not, super deep and theological or anything like that. It was just, I'm riding in the back seat, and I just began to notice the trees and how the trees were green as long as it was connected to the source of the soil. As soon as you disconnect that thing from the source of the soil, it's gonna die. It's gonna lose its vibrancy. And from that moment on, I felt like as long as I connect to this God that my grandmother, really exposed me to, I'm gonna see a vibrancy about my life. And so those are some things so that was one thing. And words as well. I mean, like you said, those power of words, the negative and the positive, actually
they program us.
Oh my goodness. One of my mentors says this all the time, is that we are words housed in flesh. Let that sink in. We are words housed in flesh. That the words that were spoken into our lives and over our lives, you have the opportunity to either believe them or not believe them. And if you believe them and you absorb them and you acted upon them, that becomes your true reality, right? And so if a person grows up hearing, you're stupid, you're dumb, you'll never amount to anything, you're gonna be just like your no good daddy and all of these different things, and you begin to believe those things, what begins to happen is that you look in the mirror and you see your dad, right? But if you have a conglomerate of those things, as well as the positive words that you're gonna do great things, you're gonna do powerful things, you're gonna be in front of people, you're gonna be on TV one day. People would say that to me, like, you're gonna be on TV one day. I know I can see you on billboards. And I chose not to believe hey, your dad's not there, you're a bastard child and all this. I chose to believe you're gonna do amazing things. You have a purpose, you're here for a purpose.
Just share that with these people out here. Like, what would you want to speak to them right now, Torrian? Like,
I would say
share with them right now. Like, what are you seeing in them? Like, if you could, if you're watching this right now, like, what negative crap has been given into you that you're actually believing, and what is the old BS story that you want to change today? People on Instagram today, if there's anybody out there watching right this second, like, what are the BS stories that you've been fed over your life, the shit that people have told you, the negative people have told you, the crap they've told you, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, you're not going to go far in life because you didn't do this. Whatever that crap people have fed you in the past, what are you going to choose today to start changing, and which group of words are you going to start listening to? So
that's right. So you believe a better story. I think you believe a better story. You have to believe a better story. You got to start looking at your life and say, you know what? I've been through some stuff. I've encountered some stuff. Some stuff has been done to me, but I'm still here.
Yeah.
It didn't destroy me, which lets me know that I'm stronger than the opposition that was faced in front of me, that there's something greater on the inside of me that's overcoming every obstacle and every trial. Yeah, we have bad days. Yeah, we have horrible days. Yeah, we have bad relationships and all those different things. But the reality is that you're watching this, you're breathing, you have the ability to move, whatever it is, you overcame it. And now you can believe that story that I'm an overcomer.
So why is it so important to hear this over and over again? Why is it so important that we listen to this stuff every day? And like, why is it so important that we actually spend time listening to Torrian talk or other people doing the same thing and encouraging each other constantly every day over and over again? Why is this so important? Because every day we have to awaken and remember who we are, where we're going with our life, what is our purpose. Awaken and remember every day, okay, today I'm going to do it today again. I'm going to knock it out again. I'm going to move another step forward today. I'm going to push this forward. I'm not going to listen to the old crap. I'm going to go to the new direction I know I'm clearly called or built to do in my life. And this is why we get these encouraging moments. We listen to Torrian's story. We listen to Greg's story. We listen to Ty's story. We listen to Bob's story. We get these stories, and we hear your story out there, because you're going to share your story with somebody that's going to impact their lives that we won't be able to impact them, but you can with your story, because you awaken every day and say, I'm called to do this. I have a purpose in my life. I'm going to impact my employees. I'm going to impact the people I lead. I'm going to impact my friends. I'm going to impact my kids. I'm going to impact my wife. I'm going to impact my husband. Whatever you're listening to right now, you're going to wake up and arise again and say, I will live a life of impact no matter what.
That's right. That's right. Come on, man, and preach. You were preaching over here, right?
Yes.
I love it. I see it in you, right? No, but I'm so glad that you come with that level of intensity, because that's what it takes to overcome those negative thoughts.
Every day.
You know, the reality is that you are bombarded every single solitary day with negative thoughts, with negative image, with negative emotions, and all of these different things. And the only way for you to overcome a negative thought is with a positive word. So let that sink in. See, think about this. I want you to go with me. The way that we are created is that whenever we hear a word, we see a picture. So think about this. Table, what color is the table?
White.
Dog, what color is the dog?
Blue.
Car, what color is the car?
Black.
What kind of car?
Range Rover.
See, all of those different things. Did I say any of those things? But you saw a picture on the inside of you. And so
Greg's
those
got the Range
thoughts, the reality is that those thoughts create an image on the inside of you. So here we go again. So I want you to get a picture of a black Rottweiler on the inside of your head. Got a picture of black Rottweiler, maybe has a chain around his neck, all those different things. It's, you know, big, grimacing and everything like that.
Great chain link fence around the yard.
Exactly.
Yes.
All of that, almost Sandlot, right?
Yes.
You remember the Sandlot?
Yes.
Okay, so kind of like that. Now, if you got the picture, those of you who are watching, if you got the picture, now I want you to open your mouth and say white poodle.
White poodle.
What happened to the black Rottweiler?
I don't know, you told me to say white poodle.
It went away.
Hopefully
it went away. And so
now
the only way,
white poodle.
right? Exactly. Now you're thinking about the white poodle. So when the negative thought, you can't, you're idiot, you're this, you're that, and all those different things, you open up your mouth and say, I am a leader of leaders. I'm a motivator of motivators. I'm an influencer of influencers. Everything I put my hands to do prospers. Every place that I go, I have favor. People are using their power, their ability, and their influence on my behalf. When you start saying stuff like that,
change your life by just saying the words.
by the
right?
words, the
And
words
it starts
that you speak.
reprogramming. So you
Absolutely.
take the action and start
Absolutely.
and living in that format. Like,
Absolutely.
I am a leader of leaders.
That's right.
I am a person that builds something. I'm a person
right.
that impacts people.
That's right.
I wake up and take care of my body.
That's right.
I care about my body. I care about the results of my life.
Absolutely.
And you start
Absolutely.
programming yourself, right?
Absolutely, and this is the way that you do it. Anything you do repetitiously will become easy. Anything that becomes easy will become a pleasure. Anything that's a pleasure you will do often, and anything you do often will become a new habit.
Yes.
I call it a repo process. And basically my coach, Coach Al Hollingsworth, actually introduced that to me a few years ago. He said, if you want to repo, if you want to get bad habits out of your life, you got to replace it with a good habit. Otherwise, another bad habit will take its place.
Winning by the game of addition.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so you have to repetitively do things over and over and over and over. Say the positive words over your life. Why? Because the negative thoughts are going to stop.
Yeah.
They're going to try to bombard you to the point of your demise. But if you can truly grab a hold of your tongue and begin to speak words of life over you, words of life over your kids, over your family, over your business, or whatever it is, you speak those things, what happens is that a creation starts to take place.
Yes.
You start creating something out of nothing. You start creating substance out of things that are absolutely nullified in our world and our society, but you begin to speak and it begins to build substance. And I think that the first part that it begins to build is you. Because you are the foundation for your success. When I go into boardrooms and I speak to executives and I'm life coaching all of these people, I said, forget about the business right now. I know that your business is doing this, that, and the other, you know, this tipping off the scales and you're in the red, you're about to lose, whatever. But where are you? Because you are the foundation for your success. When you get better, everything else gets better.
So how is this applied in your life with the launch of, you were running he was running a company, moved out here, started working for a church to help handle different aspects for them, and then he launched his own church.
Yep.
And you were sharing earlier the growth process you had to go through personally as a leader, and what were those specific learning lessons and actionable? If I had a video camera and I could walk around and record you and say, okay, you were doing this activity, now you're doing this activity, you went from over here to here, what does that look like specifically?
Number one, it takes boldness to follow your vision. It takes boldness, and it takes...
For you, that was stepping out with no money.
Yeah, stepping out with no money. Yes, stepping
no
out,
money.
No money. So for instance, my whole process in actually starting our church, I'm a person that really believes in integrity. I believe in character. I really believe in doing the right things. Because, no, seriously, because you will reap what you sow.
Yeah.
And so I worked for a very, very successful ministry, and it was great. And I was so grateful for all the great things that they did for me, and I had a lot of influence. God blessed me with a lot of influence there, but I would not touch any of that influence because I wanted to make sure that when I launched, whenever I did things, that God would bless it, and the people who were supposed to come, that they would come. Now, I had to learn that the hard way, that many times whenever, whenever there's a shift, people, they get caught up in the shift, and they love your personality and all of those different things, and they're following you maybe not for the right reasons. And so I had to learn that for a very, very, very hard lesson I had to learn. And I learned from it, and I really grew from it. And so that's number one. It takes boldness to follow your vision and stay focused on your vision. So I was telling you before is that when I stepped out, I wanted to make sure that we had everything in place and we did everything right, and we moved to the place that we were supposed to move. And I thought that, it's going to be like, okay, I can just do this because I've been a youth pastor, I've been a college pastor, I've been a business pastor, I've been an associate pastor, I've been a teacher, I've been all of these different pastors and everything. It's like, this should be a breeze to me, But when I really hit the opposition of truly building a people and carrying people, truly carrying their families, because that's what a pastor does. A pastor doesn't just get up and just preach you a word. If they do that, and that's all they do, it's over and done with. They're not really truly pastoring. They're speaking in your life. But that's great, but they're not pastoring. A pastor is a shepherd, which means that I watch over the health and the vitality and the growth of who you are, and make sure that development, that there's no malfunctions, make sure that there's no anomalies, all these different things. I make sure that I watch over. So I had to learn how to carry people. And so there's this one time I was like, I feel like I'm supposed to be way farther ahead of this. I'm looking at all these other people, some of my friends that are launching, and they're, got 100 people in their, interest meeting, and 600 people at their first service, and 1,000 people in their service right now. And I'm just like, what the heck? Like, where's all these people coming from?
Why not me?
Why not me?
And why not yet?
And why not yet? Here's the thing.
100%.
So comparison is very dangerous because you're 100%. Comparing what you know about you to what you don't know about the other person. Correct. And that's killed so many marriages, that's killed so many businesses, that's killed 100%. So many people because they look at what somebody else has on Instagram or Correct. Facebook or whatever, and they have a perception that, they're better than me.
Way better.
Yeah.
I'm better.
But yours is cool too. Yeah. Like yours is awesome as well. And so one of the things that I had to come to find out is that I don't get to transfer credits into this process. I don't get to transfer what I used to do and who I used to be.
Again.
Exactly.
Every new position, you're starting at the bottom. You got to work your ass off to go to the next level.
I don't get credit for who I used to be.
No.
I don't get credit for who you used to be. I can only get credit for who I am becoming.
Correct.
And so I had to go through the process of becoming a lead pastor, a senior pastor, because while I was underneath other ministries, which I'm very grateful for, which I honor those, but there were battles that were won on a higher level that I never got a chance to even touch. Yeah. Because there was somebody ahead of me, there was somebody over me that were winning those battles. Correct. It was my turn to go through those battles and win. And so I feel like I'm on the other side of it, and I've won a lot of battles. I have a long way to go, but I'm way better than I used to be. And so depression sets in. People don't, now it's a big thing, but pastors, if you think about this, I think that the statistic is 1,500 pastors leave the ministry every single month.
I think it's leaders, pastors,
pastors,
all
leaders,
this level. Like anybody that's in an intense level of leadership, they're gonna crash.
Absolutely,
you're gonna get burnout or bored or something. You're gonna burn everything into the ground. Yep. And you're gonna walk away because you can't handle the pressure. That's right. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to practically deal with this stuff on a daily basis. You don't know how to keep energizing your life to release the negative triggers, to release the BS stories that are holding you back. Yep. You don't know how to take care of your body every day. Yep. You don't know how to take care of your mind every day. You don't know how to take care of your relationships and your business every day. And that's what we're trying to help people do in these, right?
That's right.
Because that right there, because otherwise people will burn out. They will crash. They will die.
That's
like, I call this a rehab center for leaders here sometimes with the
Yeah.
company. Because we've had a lot of pastors or people I've actually known growing up with. It just happened I have to be surrounded in this world with a lot of people in the church world. But a lot of people get burnt out. Or they crash, or the church world pushes them away. And it happens in any world. It happened in the business world. It happens in any world, right? And people crash because we don't know how to live this life of what it takes to actually run at a high level as a leader and sustain the pressure, the crap with the money, the crap with the people hating you, the crap with the people that bail on you, or the lies that get thrown at you, or the negativity you deal with, or just all the stuff, the lawsuits. Like, there's always more issues to deal with, and it's like, how do you live this life? And the question is, how for you specifically are you living this life to handle the pressure as you're building something from scratch? Doesn't matter if it's a church, doesn't matter if it's a business, doesn't matter if it's a new family, whatever it is. What do you do specifically for you to handle the pressure every single day? So you do not crash. So you are growing, you're learning the life lessons and applying those over and over at each stage you're going through as you're building you and your organization at the same time. So
that's a good question. And to put it into just plain English, plain just principle, I don't carry what's not mine. And so you're talking to a person who has a relationship with God, and I truly depend on him for all of those things that are too heavy for me. It's kind of like whenever you go to the gym, right? So you go to the gym, and like, for instance, I went back, a couple weeks ago, and so it's like, I get underneath the bench, back in my heyday, it's like, I can just put 225 on, and man, I'm about to get this thing, right? So I get on, and I push it up, and I'm like, all right, I set it up, do a couple, little, pull-ups a little bit, and then I pull it off the rack, and I put it down, and I'm like, ooh, and I get stuck because it's too heavy for me. All of a sudden, a guy comes over, way bigger, way stronger than me, comes over, pulls it off my chest, right? And this is what happens many times in life and leadership, is that you pull off of the weight, you pull off stuff that's too heavy for you. It's too weighty for you. Maybe the pressure is too hard for you, and you think that you can do it all by yourself. And that's where most leaders fail, is because you're doing things by yourself. You're not truly trusting the cohort of people that are around you to literally carry stuff for you. And so I say every person needs a spotter. You need somebody who's stronger than you. You need somebody who's wiser than you. You need somebody who's been there for you. Like the other day, I went deep sea fishing for the very first time. Got a little bit of motion sickness, but we're not gonna talk about that. But went deep sea fishing and everything, and I was learning how to actually tie a rope and tie the line and everything. And so there's this guy, 68 years old, been, fishing for like 60 plus years. And he was showing us how to tie the line. He goes out 3 days a week, deep sea fishing. And on his hands, there were all of these scars. And after, he began to tell us about all the stuff, how to set the hook, how to set the line, all those different things. I asked him about his scars, and he was like, these are the scars, from all of my many fishing adventures. Hey, this is where the hook caught me. This is where, I was pulling up a barracuda, and this is where it broke, and that's where the stick hit me. All of these different places. And I said, each one of us needs men with scars on their hands. People that have been there, that have done that went through the stuff, that went through the issues, that went through all of the crap, but still have been successful, and it has not deterred their passion for what they're actually doing. And so I don't carry things that don't belong to me. So as much as I can, I cast those things onto God, and I say, okay, what am I supposed to carry? What am I supposed to do? What's my responsibility? And then also I trust my mentors, the people that I can call on and say, hey man, listen, I'm going through this tough spot. Hey, I feel like quitting. I feel like throwing in the towel. What did you do when you went through this situation? And that person with the scarred hands will begin to just show me and tell me, hey, this is what it's going to do. This is what you need to do. This is where your mindset needs to be. So people that are going through stuff, leaders, if you're going through stuff, trust your team, trust your God, trust the people that are around you, so that you can truly not carry the weight that you're not supposed to carry.
So good. So the impact that Torrian's had himself is huge. But the cool thing is he's got the leaders, he's got the mentors with the scarred hands. And find those people in your life. like wherever you can, if you have to hire a coach
Yep.
to do this. Torrian's actually is a hired coach. People hire him to coach them, but he actually even hires his own coaches.
Yep.
He's also submitted and done whatever it took to basically work for free,
Yep.
to get around people, to learn for free.
That's right.
What other examples have you spent, like your money, your time, doing whatever it took to get an education, to spend money on a conference to learn from it, to spend and invest time and energy to develop you? Like, how did you become Torrian, this great speaker? I mean, everyone who's watching this right now just can see how dynamic of a speaker you are, can see the wisdom just pouring out of you massively. It just comes out of your heart, and it's just like a gusher out to everybody.
Yeah.
So what have you learned? What have you done? Like, what are the things you've invested in yourself? The books, the education, the people you got around with, the people that you served or worked to get around with, to learn, to develop you, and how can other people do more of that too?
Wow, great question again. Like I said, I grew up in the church, so I had a very, very amazing, wonderful leader. And he really harped on us being personally developed. And so he really made sure that from that time that he had our attention on Sunday, that he was not only going to give us just spiritual and biblical wisdom, but he was going to give us practical wisdom as well. And so one of the great pieces of wisdom that one of my mentors gave me, he said, you got to become who you're looking for. You know, and so in my life, I was trying to find people who I could look up to and I could, really, craft my life after. And, sometimes those things bit me in the butt because I end up having a personality like a person, and it's like, man, I don't want to be like that person anymore. And I had to learn that many times when you follow people, you follow them in principle. You don't have to follow them in personality. And so what he began to really lay out for us and lay out for me is that I had to go on a quest to become the person that I would look up to. And so I began to say, okay, what does Torrian look like 10 years from now? Like
what age were you when you were asking yourself this question?
I was like 16 years old.
You're asking better questions.
Better
questions.
Getting better questions, getting better answers. I'm asking the right questions so that I can get the right answers. And so what does Torrian Scott look like 10 years from now? What does he want to do? Where does he want to live? What does he want to be? Who does he want to marry? All of these different things. I began to search and get on this quest of how do I personally develop? And so in the word, in the scripture, it says that if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all men liberally and upbraideth not, which means, and that's, New King James Version, right? But it's basically saying, if you have a lack of wisdom, ask. Because when you ask for wisdom, it's going to be poured out on you.
People will give it to you.
People are going to give it to you. Friends, and you're going to find
out there. People
and you're going
that
to
are
find
just excelling in different areas.
That's right. That's
you
right.
truly ask people, and you really care.
That's really
like
that's
people
right.
will give you answers.
That's right.
Like if you really care and you actually really have answers, people will help you find those.
That's
like,
right.
And that's what I love about that.
And so I wrote a book.
Or even
called,
Ask the Universe, or for those who don't believe in Christianity or whatever, like Ask the Universe, God, whatever. He shows up, man. Things show up. The voice
Seriously.
shows up.
Seriously.
Whatever that is, keep going.
And I found that because I had a purpose in life, I wanted to develop why I was here. And I didn't just want to merely exist. I didn't want to just live, breathe, die. I wanted to find out who was doing greater things than me. So that's when I began to search out for mentors, And so I tell people in my talks that
Who are these people?
your mentors, well, there's two things. So your mentors are either personal or they're printed. Because if you can't find a person, you can surely find a book.
I like that, personal or printed.
They're either personal or printed.
I've got a lot of printed mentors.
Exactly.
I devoured tons and tons of biographies since literally third grade.
Yep.
I found a biography. Someone said I should read it in third grade. I can remember exactly. It was Stonewall Jackson.
Yep.
That changed my life in third grade.
Yep. So I've had mentors like, for instance, my pastor, Bishop Ivy Hilliard. I've had other pastors, other mentors, other business people that I just watch and I just learn from. I just glean from. One person told me this. He said, whenever you hear a man speaking, don't just listen to what he's saying. Listen to why he's saying it. And I began to listen at a deeper level. And so when I listen to information, I'm not just listening just to be like, oh, okay, that's good information. I'm trying to figure out why this person is saying that. Why is it important for me to understand how to possess my vessel? Why is it important for me to understand how to be able to show up in a room? One of my mentors told me this before too. He said, don't just say something, have something to say. And so when I heard that, he I began to go to the why. Why would he say that? It's because many times, based off of where I was going, based off of where I was, trying to go in life, I was going to be in rooms, in places where people may have more education than me. They may have more money than me. They may have more status than me. They may have whatever more than me. But I couldn't be inferior in that moment. I had to be studied enough to be in that room, to be able to look you in the eye and be able to have something of value, of substance to say or to ask that kept the conversation going. So, I believe that I was blessed with people that were just around my life that would just give me wisdom. I'm a voracious reader. I read. I read at least 3 or 4 books a month.
So you're reading one book a week, or you're piling a bunch of books up at the same time?
So I'm reading. Well, it's a conglomerate, depending on what I'm doing, because I
do you
speak
have a set
a lot.
time every day?
Yes, every single day.
Every day. What time is your set time that you read?
So between 4 and 7 a.m., I'm waking up.
So you get up at 4 a.m. every day?
4 a.m. every single day.
And what time are you going to bed at?
Well, sometimes 11. It just depends on what type of day I have, because I have 3 kids. So the reality is that.
So you're going to bed 10 or 11 every night?
Yep.
Or sometimes 9.
Yep.
Depending on how fast the kids get to bed.
Yes.
So kids get to bed, you put yourself to bed,
Yep.
you crash,
Yep.
you get up at 4, and then
Yep.
you're saying your study time
Yep.
is 4 to 7 every day.
4 to 7 every single
And you
day.
have like a set book or a set plan every week you're kind of going through.
Absolutely.
And you sit there, do you have like the same chair? Like what's the frame you operate? Like you wake up, go to the bathroom, you grab your coffee.
That's right.
Like what's your routine? What does that look like? So people really understand, because people hear these stories of people studying.
Yeah.
They hear these stories of people reading. I'm doing all this stuff. Well, how do people really get it done?
Yeah.
Like what is a practical application for each man, each woman of actually applying this stuff? So catch this. Torrian's waking up at 4. So tell us his schedule that you actually do. You go to the bathroom.
Yep.
You're like, oh man, you wiping your eyes. You go to the coffee make. What does that look like?
Okay.
And then how do you kind of have this operating? Like
Okay.
what is this process
Good.
you're putting yourself through specifically?
Okay, so 4 a.m. I wake up. So I'm wide awake at that particular time. So if you go back and just study sleep cycles, you got to wake up at a specific time so that you're not groggy. So I wake up at 4 a.m. I use a restroom, of course. There's a couple of places in my house. I like to switch it up because I don't like to get stuck. So I have a guest room in my home. I have my own office in my home, and I do have my favorite chair. And so depending on where I just kind of feel like I want to be that morning, if this is a rocking chair type of day, I'll sit the rocking chair. If it's an office type of day, I'll sit in the office. If it's hey, I just want to close away and just kind of maybe lay here and think a little bit, I'll go to the actual guest bedroom. And so I'll have a book. So there's a business book that I read. There's a spiritual book that I read. There's an inspirational book that I read. And then I read my journals as well. And so, and it'll be a conglomerate of those things. It's just kind of what's speaking to me during that particular week. What type of meetings do I have this week? And so I read for three different levels. I read for number 1, myself, so I can get filled, so I can understand. Number 2, I read to fill others because I'm going to speak into other people's lives, so I learn for someone else. And then number 3, I learn to be able to relate to someone who's not necessarily in my demographic. And so I'll read certain reviews, I'll read certain white papers, I'll read all of these different things because my existence, my level of influence is not just with people who look like me, who vote like me, who live where I live. It's people of all races, of all colors, of all creeds, of all different backgrounds. And so I want to be able to relate to that type of person as well. So I'll read for maybe, let's say about an hour. I'll take time just to sit down.
4:15 to 5:15.
So like 4:15 to 5:15, I'll read.
About,
So let's say about maybe 20 minutes, I'll just stop and I'll just kind of take into what I was just reading to meditate on it. What are the key verses or key things?
Are you literally just saying that guy, okay, I just read this I read an hour of Seth Godin,
Yep.
Purple Cow.
Yep.
Okay, let me think about this for a while. Like you try to imagine what you just learned. While you're reading, are you taking notes? Are you highlighting stuff like?
So I'm highlighting, I'm
Are
taking
you writing
notes.
in your journal?
I'm writing in my journal and I'm writing in the book. So this is why this one rule everybody knows about me: you do not borrow books from me, because there's so many great nuggets and revelations that I've written in the spines of the book, or maybe there's something I'll think about and then I'll put a line there and I look at journal entry XYZ, and then in my journal I'll finish it. Rarely do I read like a whole bunch of content at the same time, because by the time I get to what I'm looking for, it hits me, and that's when I stop.
Correct.
That's when I stop, and that's when I've caught it. I'm thinking about it. How does this apply to my life? How does this apply to my wife? How does it apply to my kids? How does this apply to my business? How does this apply to my ministry? How, all of these different things. I'm meditating on that. I'm chewing on it. I'm thinking about it, how the different outcomes are going to actually play out. Then after that, I'll write down some revelations. And sometimes, like I said, because I'm a speaker, I'll either get a message that I'm going to speak to my church, or maybe there's this business person that I've been coaching. This is an angle that I can take him or her. Maybe there's a speaking engagement that I have for an organization. I can add that to my presentation. So I'm just trying to figure out where this fits in my life. And then after that, I close it out with a time of prayer, and I go on what I call prayer walks. And so I'll go around my neighborhood. I'll walk 6 or 7 miles, just to kind of continue.
So for an hour and a half now. Mm-hmm. So 5:15, you're stopping a shift for about 20 minutes. You're taking yourself to about 5:35.
Yep.
And for the next hour and a half, you're just walking around the neighborhood.
Just walking around the neighborhood. On my lives, on my Instagrams, on my Facebooks, you'll find me sometimes. I'll catch a revelation.
Revelations, sharing it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I'll spend a whole hour with you sometimes if you catch me in the right moment. And so. But that's some of the things that I do to get myself ready. And this is what I found out, is that when I front load my day with so much substance and so much value and so much worth, I'm speaking over myself during this time too. I'm not just saying like, oh, speak over yourself. No, there's a confession that I have that I speak over my life. I declare
I am
over
a
my
leader.
Day. Oh yeah,
I'm a great pastor.
Yeah.
I'm a business person. Whatever it is,
all of those
you're
things.
Framing your world by the words of your mouth every day to yourself every morning. And you're energizing your soul, your spirit, your body every day, every day.
Absolutely. And one of the things
putting
that
yourself
I say,
in power.
And one of the things that I say every day is that I run into the right people and I'm delivered from the wrong people.
That's good.
Every place that I find myself in, I think the right thoughts, I say the right words, and I make the right decision in every situation that I face. So that means that whenever I'm called into a meeting, whether it's an investor meeting or whether I'm called into a consulting meeting, whatever it is, I can stand there with confidence. Although I haven't studied anything, just yet as far as like what their problem, what their issue is, but because I'm a person of wisdom, I can stand there with boldness and sit there with boldness and literally draw on the wisdom that I've already been front loaded with to be able to give them something of value. And that's the way that I operate, and that's the way that I do it. And as I'm getting older, I mean, 34, as I'm getting older, but as I'm getting older, I'm spending a lot more time just saying, okay, how much more value can I give? How much more can I give? How much more can I learn? How much more can I, like last night, I spent probably 2.5 hours with a guy that I mentor, and I was just pouring out. He was like, oh my gosh. I said, I don't give you any more because you're gonna be overwhelmed, but I just kept on pouring out. And I was like, when I pour out, I'm able to receive more. 100%. And that's the way that I live, is that I live by my giving, just flows, And so, so that's just a part of, those are the kind of the inner chamber, inner courts type of things that, I deal with. And I want people to live like that.
So we're going to wrap today up.
Yeah.
Where in your life, after listening to Torrian, do you need to create a more robust morning routine? Where do you need to add more knowledge in your life? After hearing his morning routine, catch this, he's reading words that are bringing him up. Yeah. He's studying stuff that's bringing him up. He's getting up at 4 a.m., so he's constantly pouring into his mind. He's constantly pouring into the spirit inside of him, like his knowledge, his understanding, and saying, what can I do with this? And catch this, he's writing down in his journal the scripture and the revelation and the insights he's receiving every day. Yeah. And then I don't know if you caught this, but he said, I go back and look at my own journals. Because the greatest thing you can ever write down is almost some of the insight and the revelations that you are receiving in your quiet times. That the voice inside of you, wherever this voice comes from, the voice speaks to you and says, oh, this is an insight or revelation for you specifically. And you write that down and you go back and review this. And then you reapply, so you awaken and remember every day, and put yourself in power so as you go through the day, you're ready to truly impact your own life and take on the day and crush the day and do whatever is required to impact your life every single day and crush it in your relationships. Have the mindset and the skill sets you've learned in the morning and be applied throughout the day so your business life, if it's running a church, building a growth company, running a gym, whatever you are building, running a family, pouring into people's life, coaching, mentoring, building car dealerships like Joe Ingram, like whatever you are doing, you're going to crush it and just go to that next level in your life. So, Torrian, thank you so much for being on this show today. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for all the Instagram people watching today. We're going to wrap this up and we're going to say goodbye. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next show. So.